Well, hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the how and why stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to share their take on today's top stories, and we try to have just a little bit of fun as well. But we're going to start you off this morning with some breaking news. Within the last hour, we learned that Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport is one of 40 airports being targeted for potential cuts in capacity. NBC News has obtained the list that they shared with us right here at 11Alive. The Transportation Department and FAA are preparing to scale back operations by up to 10% nationwide to ease pressure on overworked air traffic controllers amid the ongoing shutdown. Other airports include New York's JFK and LaGuardia, Chicago's O'Hare and LAX, and Dallas-Fort Worth. Officials stress the list is preliminary. Final details are expected by tomorrow. More on this in a live report from Washington, D.C. in about 9 minutes. We got to start you off with this 11Alive weather impact alert. Now we're about 4 or 5 days away, but the cold air will be coming into our forecast area, folks. You need to be prepared for this, which is why we're warning you early. We'll see the coldest temperatures of the season. By Monday, we'll be starting off around 35 degrees here in the metro area, getting up to 47 for a high temperature, despite the fact that we'll have sunshine. Tuesday morning will start below the freezing mark. Okay, so you're going to need to protect those plants. You're going to need to protect yourself as well, the children. And it'll be around for a short period of time, but we want to just alert you for that. You notice that we'll be heating back up to the 50s by Tuesday afternoon, back to the 60s by the time we get to Wednesday afternoon. All right, this week, a political earthquake shook from Staten Island all the way up through the Bronx. Zohran Mamdani rode a wave of progressive energy, becoming the next mayor of New York City. He'll take office on New Year's Day. Mamdani's win marks several historic firsts. He becomes the city's first Muslim mayor, the first South Asian mayor, and at just 34 years old, the youngest mayor of more than a century in New York City. He's also a self-described democratic socialist. On Tuesday night, his message to supporters was clear.
New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics, a mandate for a city we can afford, and a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that.
All right, it's not just New York seeing that kind of political shift. Here in Atlanta, voters in one of the city's most diverse and fast-changing districts have elected self-proclaimed Democratic Socialists to the City Council. And she's joining me right here now. Kelsey Bond, welcome to the show.
Hello, happy to be here.
And congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, so first off, what does it mean for you professionally, this win, when you get this win, and how you're going to represent Atlanta?
Yeah, so my background is I'm a community and labor organizer. I'm a former union member, so I've spent years organizing with Starbucks workers, UPS Teamsters, and this shows in the way that we ran this campaign. We knocked on 35,000 doors, speaking to voters directly about the issues that matter to them, and I'm hoping to bring that experience as an organizer into City Hall along with me to build a more democratic and transparent city government.
Yeah, you said you were losing your voice still from what happened last night. Talk to me about that. When you saw the results, what went through you? Oh,
wow. We were expecting a victory. We were not expecting this much of a landslide. District 2 voters made themselves heard loud and clear that they're ready for change. They're ready for something different than the status quo.
Yeah, you are a democratic socialist.
Yes.
Explain to us what that means for somebody who may not know or maybe even be afraid of that title.
Yeah, so to me, democratic socialism means the extension of democracy into all spheres of life. Right now, we're not really living in a democracy in the United States. We have fascists in the White House who are suppressing the vote. We're having voter rolls purged by our state government. And it also means the extension of democracy into the workplace. That means that I want to uphold union rights and supporting workers who are organizing in their workplaces. So we need to build democracy everywhere, and that's what our campaign is all about.
Yeah, you got a big stretch that you cover, right? I understand you got little 5 Points, Midtown, you got Emden Park, Ponce, City Market. How will you balance the economic growth and affordability in that area?
Yeah, so I mean, the cost of housing in Atlanta right now is through the roof, and this has really been exacerbated in quickly growing districts like District 2. So we have to make sure that we're keeping Atlanta affordable while also building enough housing that's actually affordable affordable for the folks who already live here.
You talked about making government accessible. How do you plan to do that for the residents?
Yeah, so I mean, we saw these last several years like an attempt to put a referendum to vote on Cop City on the ballot, and those referendum petition signatures were not really respected or heard by our city government. And so I want to make sure that voters feel like when they speak up, when they want to vote on an issue and we have a referendum, they truly have that right is respected, and that everybody has a pipeline to get involved in our democratic process.
Yep. All right. So you're going to be working with Mayor Dickens, right? Is it more of a collaboration, contrast in some areas? What is it? Tell it to us.
You know, we will disagree on things, but I truly believe that we all want Atlanta to work for everybody. My main angle is I believe that corporate influence and developer money plays too much a role in our city's decision-making process, which is why my campaign refused all contributions from corporations and private developers. And I think it starts with getting corporate influence out of the democratic process.
Yeah. Tell me what success looks like by the end of your term.
Yeah, so I am really hoping to tackle housing affordability. I'm glad that's already an issue for this current administration. I also think it's really important to expand public transit because Atlanta is a quickly growing city. We are, one of the worst cities for traffic in the country, and that starts with really investing in public transit, building Beltline Rail, and upholding our promises to carry out the More MARTA referendum project list.
Yeah, can't wait for that now. Traffic is something around here.
That's right.
So if someone is looking at this right now and they want to know how you're going to be representing them, what would you say to them right now?
I would say I'm really seeking to be an accessible city council person. I'm planning to have regular events in the district to be accessible to voters. Many voters had our canvassers knock on their door several times, and I think that goes to my investment in going out of my way to talk to voters face to face and really hear from them.
There you go. Kelsey Bond, thanks so much.
Thank you so
Congratulations
much.
once again. Thank you for joining us here on The Take.
Thank you.
And we'll probably have you back again.
Awesome. Love it.
All right, folks.
Have a great one.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. Well, look out now over the tarmac at Hartsfield-Jackson, where the skies may not be so friendly in the near future. Yesterday, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the government shutdown is forcing the nation's flight capacity to be cut by 10% at 40 major airports starting tomorrow morning. And NBC News has confirmed this will include Atlanta. All right, let's bring in NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. And Alice, you have the full list there. Do you know why these specific airports have been picked?
Good morning, Chesley. So the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, said that this was a decision that was entirely driven by data, and it's about trying to make sure that they have the coverage that they need, largely in terms of air traffic controllers, but we're also talking about TSA agents, both of whom have been working without pay since the start of the government shutdown. And Sean Duffy said that while the Transportation Department, while the FAA is very concerned about flight delays, about people being able to, get where they're planning to go on time, he said the basically first, last, and only serious and grave concern that they have is that the airspace be as safe as possible. And so the decisions for these 40 airports, and not at all surprising that Atlanta's would be among them, being the busiest that we've got, the decision was based on, what needs to be done at each of these airports in order to make sure that all flights can take off and land safely, that they're manned in such a way from the ground that can happen.
Yeah. Secretary Duffy warned that the air traffic controllers could miss their second full paycheck next week if the shutdown continues. Is this a bit of an ultimatum from the Secretary to end it?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that he can do. He's certainly raised the alarm and warned of, in fact, mass chaos if the shutdown extends into another week. He said that we may have to start seeing partially closed airspace if the shutdown continues to drag on. So yeah, I mean, he is really laying it on the line and trying to really show the stakes here. And we're trying to hammer that point home as well, because I'm sitting here in Washington. We're very aware of the stakes of the shutdown here, but this is something that impacts people all over the country, and airports are a really clear illustration of that, really clear reason. There are all kinds of reasons that people fly, people all over the country. And so if you go to the airport and you encounter this kind of gridlock, it really drives it home. We are in a government shutdown. It matters. And I think Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, is leaning into that and certainly doing what he can to raise pressure on folks on Capitol Hill to try to get air travelers, the air traveler system, all out of this mess.
Allison, do we know if there's any other plans in case this drags on? We know that Thanksgiving travel is just around the corner, and that could be a big mess.
Yeah, so I mean, that is why the transportation secretary decided to act now with this 10% reduction in flights. He said this is actually a proactive measure before things get to where they would potentially be unsafe, I think, from the way that he was phrasing it, and to relieve stress, to relieve pressure on the system and on the workers who are working without pay once again. And we know this, air traffic controllers were already under an incredible strain before this started. A serious shortage of those very important positions already was in place, and now we're seeing this. And he was very clear about it. He said because of the economic pressures that air traffic controllers are facing, and TSA agents, that many of them are calling in sick and they're taking on second jobs in order to put food on the table. So the only other real option, if we're not going to see the government reopen, there has been some talk about potentially a standalone bill just to pay air traffic controllers. Does that stand a better chance than reopening the government? Not sure, but if things start to get worse, that could be a possible alternative.
All right, Alice, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate the information. All right, here's what else is making headlines for today. For the nation's longest ever federal government shutdown, senators will return today to continue talks on a short-term spending bill as the longest government shutdown in history adds another day. Meanwhile, President Trump is refusing to meet with Democrats and last night released a video calling for senators to scrap the 60-vote threshold for a filibuster in order to speed up reopening the government. We'll have plenty more stories for you coming up right after the break here. You're watching The Take, and we're back right after this. Welcome back to the show. Right now, Metro Atlanta's largest animal shelters are at a breaking point. The Lifeline Animal Project says record numbers of pets are pouring into the Fulton and DeKalb County shelters, and they're running out of space to care for them. A report out earlier this year found that more than 2,100 animals entered Metro Atlanta shelters in August alone, the highest monthly total on record. But only 14% of lost dogs are being reclaimed by their families in Fulton and DeKalb counties, meaning most never make it home. The report also discovered that shelters built to house about 475 dogs are now holding anywhere between 500 and 600 at a time, pushing conditions to the limit. Here now from the Lifeline Animal Project is Tamika Artist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Tamika, when you walk through those kennels right now, right, what does it feel like to see so many animals waiting for a home?
It's really difficult for us because as a staff member, we grow very attached to these animals, and each one of them has a very individual story about how they ended up at our shelter, whether it's because they were lost or because they were surrendered by their owners. And we want the most positive outcome that we can find for these animals, which means finding them a loving home. And so it's very difficult for us. It takes a toll on us as well.
Yeah. What do you think is driving this record surge?
Well, we have seen a 27% increase over this time last year in the number of animals that are coming into our shelters. That includes pets that are lost, that are stray, animals that are coming into our system because they're involved in court cases. We have about 66 animals on court case hold at our DeKalb shelter alone. 13 came in just last week. But this past week in particular, we have seen a lot of pregnant puppies and mamas and litters coming into the shelter, in addition to people surrendering their animals as well.
Wow, we just talked about some numbers there of shelters built to hold 475. You're now seeing 500, 600. What are you close to absolute capacity, and what happens when that happens?
So we are above capacity at both of our shelters right now. We are probably about 56 over between the two shelters as I speak to you today. And it's really hard to say what's driving it. Obviously, we know the economy can play a role in some of this. We did have the government shut down now entering its fifth week. I don't know if that's directly impacting it, but people are struggling. And when families struggle, Pets are a part of our lives. They're a part of our family. And just like you and I are looking at grocery store prices and going, gosh, this costs a lot. We know that food prices are up, vet care prices are up. I read somewhere there's a new study that came out that shows that 1 in 5 pet owners carry about $2,000 in pet debt alone.
Wow.
So that's a significant impact. So we know that people are just struggling.
Yeah, for folks watching right now, what's at stake if nothing happens or nothing changes?
Well, we do have to make these very tough decisions every single week. We look at a number of factors. We have a team that takes this very, very seriously. And what we try to do is look at behavioral issues. The animals that are in our shelters due to spacing issues, there's nothing wrong with them. There's the stigma that the animals, there's something wrong with them. Why are they at the shelter? These are happy, healthy, behaviorally fine animals that are simply there because of space. But we do have a 90% save rate. But one of the things we look at is kennel stress. How are animals doing in our shelters because they're in a crowded space? We find that a lot of times if you just get them out for the day or for a weekend, it can completely change their behavior. So we push our dog for the day program, just get them out for the day, take them on a walk, get them out for the weekend. Our weekend warrior programs, people can temporarily get the animals out of our shelters for a couple of days, a weekend. It really helps impact their behavior.
You talked about the myths that people may have. What do you want every Atlantan out there, everybody watching, to understand, and how can they help out the shelter?
Well, we want people to know that we have to change the way that we look at animal welfare in this country in general. Animals are meant to be in loving homes. They're not supposed to be in shelters. And it is a community problem. It's not a we versus they problem. This is a community problem. Atlanta loves their pets. They love their animals. We have more pet owners in the South than we do up north, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because of the beautiful weather that we have here. So they're part of our lives. They're part of our families. These are members of our community, if you will. So think about adopting instead of shopping. The holidays are coming. If you want a pet, consider coming to Fulton or DeKalb shelters to look for an animal. We have technicians that are there to help you find an animal that fits with your lifestyle. Also, spread the word about Lifeline. We have a number of animals out there that need loving homes. And if you know someone that needs help, we have programs that can help pet owners that are struggling. We have our Pets for Life program, which is an assistance program for people living primarily in the College Park, East Point areas. Yeah. We also have a free food bank in DeKalb. Once a month, if you need help, we can offer you free pet food, but we're there to help you.
Gotcha. Tamika Artis, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for the insight you've given this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care. Folks, don't go anywhere. This is The Take. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. In a move that's raising global alarm, Russia has officially resumed underground nuclear testing, reviving Cold War era fears and challenging long-standing international treaties. The Kremlin says that its response to what it calls American provocation, while U.S. officials warn it could trigger a dangerous new arms race. The topic is fresh on the mind of President Trump. He was recently asked about it last week aboard Air Force One.
Are you talking about literally resuming underground nuclear detonation tests?
You'll find out very soon, but we're going to do some testing, yeah. Other countries do, and if they're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay, you can't clarify whether you will resume.
I'm not going to say yet. I mean, I know exactly what we're doing, where we're doing it, but other countries are doing it, and if other countries do it, we do it.
All right, so let's dive into this debate with Dr. Margaret Kozel. She's the director of the Georgia Tech's Sam Nunn Security Program. Welcome to the show.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning to you. Dr. Margaret, every American watching this, why should they care if another country or even our own starts testing underground again?
So the reason that everyone should care is that in the last 75 years, nuclear weapons have fundamentally driven our deterrence posture, our national security posture. They are fundamentally defensive weapons, and we currently have something called strategic stability in place. And with that, we have had 75 years without the use of a nuclear weapon in war.
How significant is this movement right now in history when we talk about nuclear weapons?
How significant it is to be seen. So we have a statement that the United States may resume nuclear testing. It is not clear at all what Trump was speaking about, if he's speaking about actual nuclear atomic explosions or testing of the elements that surround nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Because nuclear weapons are very complicated systems. They are systems that are extremely secure. There are multiple different pieces that need to be tested.
Yeah.
The United States has done more nuclear weapons testing than any country in the world. By far, in the case of China, we have so much data, and we also have been responsible in investing in the infrastructure that enables us to do things using that data, using other proxy tests, using facilities at Department of Energy national labs that we don't need to test.
Is there a strategic message that Russia is sending by resuming their underground testing?
It's not clear. These are days in which there's a lot of discourse and rhetoric that is put forward. The first thing is understanding, is it a real nuclear test? And there are technical ways that we can tell whether it was actually a nuclear test. And anytime Russia says something, you have to verify. So that's the first piece. Let's ensure that what they are claiming is what is actually happening. And you can detect certain radioisotopes that are given off by only nuclear tests. And if those are detected, that signals that there's an underground nuclear test.
Yeah.
Versus if they are testing something that is nuclear powered, or they're testing something that is a component. And so that differentiation may seem complicated, may seem small, but it is critical.
Dr. Margaret, I got about 30 seconds left here. What's your biggest concern moving forward?
My biggest concern is the state of the U.S. government these days and not being open. We need to ensure that we have good people who are smart, who understand the nuclear weapons complex, understand the international environment, who are in place to be able to make a difference.
Dr. Margaret Kosel, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to take a short little break here. We'll be right back with more stuff right after this. Stay right there. All right, November shines a light on millions of Americans caring for loved ones, often without rest or recognition. It's National Family Caregivers Month, a time to focus on the toll caregivers can take physically, emotionally, and financially. An AARP report from June found 59 million people in the U.S. are providing unpaid care for loved ones, from managing medications to offering daily emotional support. Nearly 2/3 of caregivers say the emotional burden of caregiving is overwhelming and leading to exhaustion and burnout. And almost half of caregivers say the role takes a toll on their own health, from fatigue to chronic pain and sleep loss. Let's dig deeper into this crisis with Dr. Michael Gabriel. He is the National Medical Director from Carelon Palliative Care. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me to speak on this important topic.
Absolutely. Dr. Gabriel, what do you most often hear when it comes from caregivers about the care that they give, and what's the breaking point for them?
I think that it is the change in role, that they expect that they're providing care of patients can improve, but unfortunately with advanced illness, patients continue to get worse over time. And I think for caregivers, providing that, the strain of the day-to-day just becomes a bit too much and a burden.
Is it the fact that you love this person so much that it creeps in on you slowly, and before you know it, there's already a crisis?
I believe it is, and I believe that it is also the lack of awareness in our medical system to really check on the caregiver. I think that people often feel stigma to bring that issue up, so I think there's a lot of isolation with it.
We often hear that caregivers resist the help. I mean, how important is it for caregivers to get that help? And why do they resist it?
Oh, it's as important. Again, I think that there is a lot of guilt that people feel if they don't feel like they're doing enough, or if they are not doing a good enough job. I think that in order for a caregiver to provide that proper care, they need their own support system too. It's very similar to the airplane. You have to put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. And I think caregivers really need to follow that rule and make sure that their own well-being is taken care of so that they could provide that other role.
Yeah. When a caregiver decides to take care of themselves, what changes first?
I think, again, first thing is to admit and validate those feelings. As you said, 64% of caregivers experience emotional distress, almost 50% some physical strain. I think that's the very first step, to be willing to accept that this is normal, a validated feeling, and seeking help in that role to look to others to see what may be available for them to improve upon.
Do you think there's enough support from the healthcare system to give to family caregivers?
I do. There are, and it continues to evolve. There are national organizations like the Family Caregiver Alliance, but I think for patients facing serious illness, patients with advanced heart failure, cancer, dementia, things like that, there's also palliative care, which along with my providers at Careline, we provide. And I think that's really been a life raft for caregivers and to really get their story told and supported.
What all does your organization do? Is it just physical, emotional, and spiritual? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we provide that extra layer of support for patients and their families to help them navigate through serious illness. So we're working with their symptoms, working with the psychosocial support, the emotional needs, spiritual needs, coordinating and advocating with their current primary care physicians and specialists and anyone else in the community that's needed for that care. We provide 24/7 support and really help with all of the issues that contribute to someone's wellness and quality of life over time.
All right, those caregivers that are watching right now, I got 30 seconds left. What would you say to them right now? I guess encouraging them to get help.
Yes, one, you're not alone. We want to help you. We want to work with you. Bring this up with your care providers. Please visit our website, carelon.com, CARELON.com. There's very helpful information there as well to explore palliative care and what we can bring to both patients and their caregivers.
Dr. Michael Gabriel, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insight today.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. All right, take a live look outside here. Look at that. Looks like the city is on fire. Actually, the sun is starting to rise and we look pretty good. Folks, we'll have the sunshine around for the rest of the afternoon. We're warming up nicely. In fact, last of the, what I call the jackpot sunshine days before more clouds will roll into the area by tomorrow. So you're looking at a beautiful day. Hopefully you get a chance to get out there and enjoy it before those changes come. And one of those changes we've been talking about is the cold air. Boy, that's going to be coming our way. Let's bring in meteorologist Carmen Hernandez with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City. Carmen, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing today?
You know, I'm holding on. I'm trying to hold on here. Let's talk about it, right? So we've had a nice little stretch here of what I like to call bonus days. Our temperatures have been above the average. Very nice for November, right? The start of November?
Exactly. It's been really great so far.
Yeah, but we know what's coming.
Yes, we do.
Well, let's talk about the rain first, right? Are we going to get enough? Well, we know we're in a drought. We're over 5 inches below where we should be for this time of year. How much rain can we expect to help get into the bucket this time around?
We're really only expecting maybe up to a half an inch to an inch this round, unfortunately. So not really looking at it, drought conditions improving, but still some nice rainfall Friday night and Saturday morning.
Then behind that, we got a front that's going to come through and bring in some of the coldest air of the season so far.
Yeah, we're looking at our first freeze coming up into Sunday and Monday with a swift end to our growing season coming up.
So it's going to be, the timing for this is really Monday to Tuesday. What should people do ahead of this cold air coming in?
We're asking people to protect the 4 Ps. Of course, people, check on your people, plants, cover your plants, pets, make sure they're inside, and then cover your pipes because it's going to be below freezing for almost 12 hours overnight.
Are there any misconceptions for people to understand when we talk about cold air coming in? You think that they just, I mean, we are in the South, they take this message for granted a little bit because it's so warm right now that it catches them off guard?
I think so, a little bit, especially with how warm it's been, like October and September. This is just quickly coming in, this cold air, but it's the time of year. We're getting closer to December for this cold air.
Yeah. How long is it going to last?
We're looking at, we'll start moderating temperatures into mid next week, really back to more normal.
Yeah.
So just a quick shot of cold air.
Gotcha. Carmen, I didn't get a chance to look at the latest drought monitor. Did we see that increase a little bit? We were looking at the D3s in our area. I know down in the southern portions of the state, it was a little bit more widespread. And in the metro area, we had some extreme drought as well. Did it grow? Have you had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I took a look this morning. It looks like overall not too much of a change, maybe a slight improvement over Southwest Atlanta, but overall just not much change.
And so we get a little bit of rain, maybe to help us out here. It's dry. We know that September was almost a record for us, right? Dryness. October is typically our driest month. Does change happen in November for us typically when it comes to rain?
Yeah, typically we'll start to see some as we start to get those frontal systems pushing through our kind of secondary severe season with the winter time frame, really.
Yeah, and we're not looking at anything tropical, right? I know we're coming to the end of the season. Nothing out there, right?
Thankfully, no. Yeah, hope we can keep going for the end of the season that way.
All right, and one more last question here. I'm always asked this, right? Will we receive any snow? Everybody wants to know this question. Will we receive any snow this year for Christmas or beyond?
Can't really tell you now. You can hope for it, maybe a little dusting. Can't tell you now.
You know, it's always the teachers that always ask that question, right? I'm going to a school this afternoon. They're going to want to know. I'm going to use you, Carmen. I'm going to say Carmen Hernandez, meteorologist at the Peachtree office, said, hey, we really can't tell. You have to watch us each and every day to find out whether there'll be some snow. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Exactly.
Carmen, thanks so much. Really appreciate you being with us, and take care. Be safe down there, Peachtree City.
You too.
All right, take
Thank
care.
you.
Yep, no problem. CNN's Maribel Aber is going to join us next with How Our Money Matters. You want to stay tuned for it. She's always good. We'll be back right after this. We're back. As we've been reporting, Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport is earmarked for a potential 10% reduction in capacity starting tomorrow. And if that includes a flight you book through United, you may want to hold on to your boarding pass. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Hello, Maribel.
Hi, Chesley.
They're stepping up to help travelers who've been hard hit by the shutdown, right?
Yes, United Airlines will offer refunds to travelers who decide not to fly once any government restrictions on air travel take effect. So the Department of Transportation plans to reduce U.S. flights by 10% across 40 major airports starting Friday if the shutdown continues. This leaves many carriers scrambling to adjust schedules over the coming days. United says its customers can get a full refund for as long as any restrictions are in place, even if their flight isn't directly affected. So this would include non-refundable and basic economy tickets as well. The airline plans to give travelers several days of advance notice regarding any flight changes to minimize disruptions. And, you know, Chesley, you might be able to get where you need to get to, but will the return flight be all right? That's the question.
That is the question. That is a very important question. All right, Starbucks' popular Red Cup Day is next week, but it's also setting up to be a day of showdown with the union employees.
Showdown indeed. Starbucks union members say they're ready to strike next week, Chesley. Members voted to walk out of stores in at least 25 cities, but exact locations were not disclosed. The large gap in CEO to worker pay is a key point in their contract demands. Union leaders say the salary for Starbucks chief executive is more than 6,000% higher than the average employee. Starbucks says it's, quote, disappointed that the union voted to strike rather than focus on negotiations. The strike is set to begin November 13th, which is also the coffee chain's Red Cup Day launch for the holiday season, Chesley.
Everybody wants those red cups, man. Everybody wants those red cups. All right, Snapchat's streak may be hot, but Wall Street's mood, not so much.
Okay, Snap shares surged 15% after a strong forecast and a new $400 million AI deal with Perplexity. Executives told CNBC the partnership will expand Snap's AI features and advertiser tools. Users may see upgraded conversational chat capabilities. By early next year, Snap's revenue came in above expectations with improvements across North America and Europe. The company did see a dip, though, in earnings, losing 6 cents per share. It says engagement is stabilizing after 2 years of uneven growth and reported 1 million more daily users last quarter than was estimated. Chesley.
All right, understand that it's a wicked good time to be a donut lover because Dunkin's new menu might put a spell on you, huh?
Okay, well, I'm going to put a spell on you right now. Duncan is celebrating the finale of the Wicked franchise with Munchkins and merch. Pink and green glazed Munchkins give a nod to Glinda and Elphaba. They come in a collectible tin for $9.99. There's also dueling drinks, a Wicked green matcha or a pink refresher. Other movie-inspired merchandise features tumblers with straw toppers shaped like a witch's hat or a crown. All are available now for a limited time. You know, Wicked for Good hits theaters November 21st. Chesley, I'll tell you what, there's the thing. Sometimes we might need a hat. Sometimes we might just need a crown.
Oh, look
you know
at
what
that.
I'm saying?
Look at that. You just have all the props.
I'll put a spell on you.
You have all the props. If you have some money sitting there, throw that my way as well.
I'm going to throw that to you, too.
Thanks a lot, Maribel. Really appreciate it.
You got it.
Take care. All right. AI is used for everything. But how about to grow crops? We're going to talk about that right after the break. Don't go anywhere. From the farm to the future, Georgia Tech is proving that high-tech learning doesn't just happen in labs. It also happens in the dirt. They're working now to help high school students learn to code and analyze data, even grow crops using robots. It's all a part of the mission to connect artificial intelligence with agriculture and inspire the next generation of tech-savvy farmers. Joining us now is Dr. Norman Storm Robinson III, the Associate Director of Georgia Tech School of Community Engagement, to talk to us about FarmBot and how it's changing in the classroom and communities. Welcome to the show, Storm.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to have to find out what that actually means a little bit later on. But first, talk to me about when students see robots growing crops for the first time. What's their reaction?
Their reaction is bewilderment at first because they don't recognize that there is a connection to learning coding and using AI to growing food. So, you know, after we get past that making that connection, they're like, wow, what else can we do with it?
Wow. Talk to us about how the FarmBot works.
All right, so it's an automated agriculture system called precision farming. Mm-hmm. If you imagine a raised garden bed that has a robotic arm, it can actually plant seeds, water them, check the soil, and even pull out weeds. So you have this robotic arm that goes back and forth, up and down, along a track of a bed, like a 4-foot, 8-foot bed. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty amazing. It's very cool to look at. Sometimes it's even mesmerizing for the students because they can't imagine that this robotic arm is actually growing food.
Yeah, we were just looking at some video of that. It was just like you described. What role does AI play in all this?
AI plays a role in crop optimization. Mm-hmm. So where exactly do you plant your seeds to get the best optimal yield? Soil health, not only soil moisture, but you can actually have the students look at the NPK, which is the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium levels of the soil to determine the soil health, and they can figure out mitigations around that. Of course, the student's favorite is the weed control, where it will detect the weed and then it will use kind of like a rotary tool to take the weeds out.
Oh, wow. Wow. This is obviously what we saw there was a small, little area there. Could this eventually be used in real farms or even community gardens?
It can be used in real farms and community gardens. It's an open source product. That means there's no trademark issues. You can actually build some of the pieces yourself. If you have a CNC machine and a laser cutter, you can scale it to a larger size if you have the engineering capabilities, or even pose it to students to even doing that with their students. How can we do this on a grander scale? Yeah. Have them go through that problem solving, that iteration, that testing, and that prototyping. Man, it's great opportunity for great student learning.
Are you finding that people, or at least the younger generation, maybe not into farming as much, but when they see something like this, they'll gravitate to it because of the technology?
Well, that was one of my original first intentions, was to really give the students that are in rural areas something that is in their area, that's part of their community, give them a way that they can connect to it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes these students feel that they're not even connected to the farms, connected to the local agricultural businesses, and they don't feel that they're connected to the big emerging technology boom. Here we're bringing an experience where they can experience the emerging technologies and the precision agriculture and maybe they'll find that there's a way back to that local farm that they live next to, or that agriculture business that they're around, that they can see that there's a place of employment, a place of something, sustainability for them.
Something they may even know a little something about, right? But have been trying to get away from, and now you're giving them something to make it sustainable. Talk to me about that, the sustainability of this type of farming.
Yeah, so the Farm Bite, to me, I think has built-in sustainability, because what we're trying to do is not only build the competencies with the students, but also put a focal point for that community to come around. Healthy food is something that everybody needs, healthy food. If your school is growing it and then you're including them into the process of the Farm Bite, what's happening with the Farm Bite, it can bring all the community in, and it'll just live off itself and grow within itself and build that community up.
Yeah. How do you hope that this blend will shape the tech and agriculture future learning in Georgia?
Well, I hope my main goal is to make sure that these students are prepared for because the agriculture, the precision farming and agriculture is taking off. And so if you don't have those competencies and skills already built, then you really won't have a pathway to that. So hopefully we're giving them that entry point, that foundation, so that they can further learn about emerging technologies, computer science, robotics, and they can see themselves, actually in a place working, doing those types of things around precision agriculture.
All right, I got 15 seconds left with you. Storm, where does that come from? Are you a storm chaser or something, or what are you doing?
No, I'm not a storm chaser. I'm a failed basketball player.
Hey, well, you landed in the right spot.
Norman Nixon.
I got you.
With no jump shot.
You landed in the right spot, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, folks. Coming up on the show, we'll have another look at your forecast, plus my final take right after the break. All right, we are looking at an 11Alive weather impact alert for Monday. All right, today is Thursday, but we're talking about Monday. That's when some of the coldest air of the season so far will be coming our way. Folks, we got a little Arctic air drop, if you will. It's only going to last about a day and a half, but it's there. And so that could damage plants. You got to protect them, and yourself as well. Going to have to bundle yourself up, folks. We go from the 70s all the way down to the 40s by Monday. Today, it's going to be a nice one. Mostly sunny skies, 75 degrees for the high. Tomorrow will be the same as far as temperatures go, but we'll see the change as far as more clouds moving in. Chance for some showers, possibly a thunderstorm Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon becomes more scattered showers, and that could linger into Sunday. And then that cold air comes our way. We're talking about temperatures below the freezing mark starting off Tuesday morning. It's a quick shot. You see that we will rebound as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. All right, before we go, I don't know who actually uses this as a source of naming their children, but the Baby Center has released its 2025 most popular names for babies. Noah and Olivia top the list of most popular names, with Liam and Oliver following closely behind in the popularity for boys, and Amelia and Sophie for girls. Those names remained at the top of the list from last year, but new names have entered the top 10. For example, Eliana and Aurora has entered the top 10 for girls at 7 and 9, respectively, bumping out Ava and Luna, which were the digital parents resource saying were celestial favorites. And then for boys, on the boys side, Luca entered into the top 10, pushing out Leo. Like Leo, not a bad name right there. The Baby Center, which publishes reports on baby names since 2004, said insights come from the Baby Center's property data sourced from 350,000 babies that were born in 2025. Parents register those names at the Baby Center app, so forth and so on. What happened to Chesley? Never been in the top 10. May consider that, folks, as naming your children, or at least one of your boys. Maybe even a girl's name. I think it can go both ways. I've met both. But where do these names come from, I wonder? And I guess it will take time for us to know more Noahs and Olivias, because they get the names now. By the time they get older, I guess we'll have a bunch of them around. Maybe. Is that what people are naming their children? Chesley has a nice ring to it. I'm just saying, if you need a name. Hey, that's all we got for you today. Make sure you make it a great day and try to encourage somebody, okay? Have a great day.